Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Network. A lot going on. We'll have a shorter broadcast tonight. I, of course, wasn't here yesterday, and I am still doing work behind the scenes on our live streaming system, making some changes to our channels, doing a lot of other work that you're not aware of or not seeing as I prepare for some changes around here, technically and editorially, in the days and weeks ahead. However, much to unpack for you tonight, even in the shorter period of time that we will be together. Two members of the Dayglo Abortions punk band from Canada arrested in the United States. We'll give you some details on that. Also, Labor Day protests target Trump, especially on the U.S. side of the border. And those reciprocal tariffs that Mark Carney and Canada's Liberal government imposed, most of those have now been lifted. Plus, Putin calls for major changes to the world economic system and, I guess, a new geopolitical world order as his allies meet with him in Shanghai. I will be back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Workers over billionaires. That was the label affixed to many of the protests on this Labor Day 2025 across the United States. We have a live feed right now. Let's pick this up. I'm not sure what city we're in here. I believe when I was checking this earlier, I think we were in Chicago. Don't quote me on that, but we're going to go pick up this live feed. I believe this is Chicago. We've seen labor leaders speaking, of course, these protests today, like the No Kings rallies, targeting Trump. These are happening all across the U.S. today. And in places in Canada, too. As you see there from the sign being held, and Chicago being highlighted here because of Trump's plans to bring in troops, deal deal with what he says is a crime crisis. Municipal leaders, state leaders in Chicago, in particular, municipal leaders, many of them opposed to that. We're hearing that Chicago PD and municipality may refuse to work cooperatively with the National Guard troops if brought into Chicago in the same way or a similar way that they were brought into D.C. So again, workers over billionaires, the theme of these protests nationwide in the U.S. Interesting, given that the MAGA movement, Trump movement, has largely been built around a base of blue-collar, working-class people. And I know that here in Chicago, a lot of the protesters have been going to places like they went to a Tesla dealership, of course, because of Elon Musk's association with MAGA, Trump, and of course Doge. They also spent some time at a Target department store, targeting Target. For, I guess, capitulating to Trump's demands on a number of issues. Big rally. The Labor Day protests here targeting Trump, trying to unify working class people against billionaires who are, in their words, stealing from working families, destroying democracy, and building private armies to attack America's towns and cities. That's a pretty close quote from the Mayday Strong website. That group was instrumental in organizing a lot of these protests across America today. And this feed coming from Hook Global.
This is what democracy looks like. Sorry. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Anytime there's like a rally mentioned, that's
This is what democracy looks like. 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 This is what democracy looks like.
Yeah, Chicago!
That's good for boys and girls, yeah. This Mercy property. Wow. My friends, I had a lot of
And yes, thank you to everybody wishing me happy. Not today. It was earlier. That's why I was off yesterday. I was with my family.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. 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 No KKK, no fascist
We'll see if they stop at this Target.
And so in response, people started organizing
their brief stop. Take my image off here for a moment before we start this.
Shut it down! Shut it
Wayfair's Labor Day clearance is
Okay,
here.
let's yank out of that for a moment and go back live.
Maverick News Radio is big out here fighting for democracy. I'm Don Millar, Secretary Treasurer of the Chicago Federation of Labor. Thank you, sisters and brothers. You know, we're going to be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm a Asian American. I'm an immigrant. So it strikes close to my heart. You know, the attack on DEI. DEI, look around us. This is DEI, right? We are DEI. And this is what we fight for each and every day, for each other. And it ain't right when they turn DEI as a bad word. And we won't back down to their bullying. You know, Trump and the right-wing media have tried to make DEI the boogeyman, and it's not. But they're just scared like all bullies deep down, right? Yeah! And we won't back down, and we're not be like what Target is doing. We're not barking down like what Target is doing, right? So I want to, we heard from Pastor Jamal Bryant earlier, who's led The fight against Target on DI. Please welcome back to my life. Come on, make some noise, Chicago!
I want to thank the union for standing with us. We have effectively, since March, led the most effective boycott for our people since the Montgomery bus boycott 70 years ago. Target has played in our face long enough, but I want you to know the power of your dollar and the power of your sacrifice. When we started this boycott, Target was earning $145 a share. Because you stopped going to Target, it has dropped to $93 a together, we could stop racism in America right on its heels. All the teachers make noise on the union. This is a march. It is a march for justice, it is a march for jobs, and it is a march for equality. We cannot be slowed down by what is happening in Washington, D.C., because the next generation is depending on us. I am so grateful for the young people who are out with us home today. Would you do me a favor? Would you gotta get that down.
We'll just maybe we'll come back to that in a little while, but you can see that the rally in Chicago, pretty sizable. Strong labor town to begin with. Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, I'll tell you all about the Dayglo abortions arrests in Ohio.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Two members of the hardcore punk band, the Dayglo Abortions, have been arrested in the United States of America, in Ohio. This band is a Canadian band. They're a Canadian band. As you can see, there's the two band members in the picture there on the right. That is on the Ashland County Police Service Sheriff's Office website. That's Murray Acton and Matthew Fiorito. They were taken into custody yesterday in Ohio. I guess they were there playing a gig, and I guess Fiorito is a guitarist with the band. I have to say, I'm really not a Dayglo Abortions aficionado. I'm not a fan. I don't really know much about the band. I'm aware of them. I do not really know much about the band or their songs, other than, of course, the name of the band itself is enough of a shock that it generates interest and an audience. always has. But they've been arrested. We just don't know at this point still even why, what they've been charged with, if anything, why they might have been arrested. Now, I do know that Ripcords, is it Ripcords Productions, I guess, is the company that represents them or something? No, Fringe Product. That's the label that they're on. And then they have another distributor, Record Peddler. And I'm sorry if I'm getting these names mixed up. I'm not a Dayglo abortions expert. The name is just, it's, the first time I heard that years ago, I just, I thought, well, that'll get some attention, and it does. Ripcords is a Facebook page that has been posting information about the arrest. Let me bring up the Facebook feed because there's a lot of talk on social media about it tonight. And some concern, of course, because of the state of affairs between Canada and the US and ICE and what might happen to these shock punk rockers, if it's fair to call them that. Ripcord. So our friends Matt and Murray from the Dayglo Abortions have been arrested after playing a show in Ohio. They're being held in the small town of Ashland, southwest of Cleveland, since there's no charges listed next to their names. And this is on the Sheriff County's website, these images. It says one can only surmise that this is somehow related to detaining foreigners, which seems to be an increasingly popular pastime of the increasingly fascist governments to the south. If anyone can do anything to help them, especially those living in Ohio, please do. Or if you know something we can all do to help, please let us know. Scrolling down, Winnipeg Punk's Facebook page, 2 members of the BC hardcore punk band Dayglo Abortions were arrested in the U.S. Reposting the news story from one of the major networks, and on the Lily Storing Facebook page, posting information again from the authorities' website in Ohio. You can see Murray Acton's picture there. Let me see if I can get in a little closer. I don't know if I can zoom in on it or not. I guess not. It says additional hold for Ashland County Sheriff's Office. So these are court documents. And there's Matthew Fiorito's image as well. So some people hoping that these two can return to Canada. And I guess that is what some people are saying would be the best case scenario. Worst case, don't know. Maybe maybe a gulag in El Salvador. Or alligator Alcatraz. No, that's not likely to happen. I'll tell you why. That is because alligator Alcatraz is being decommissioned. Oh, yes. Have you not heard? It's not getting anywhere near the media attention that the startup did. Let me show you. I wasn't even planning on talking about this tonight, but since we have this story, this relates directly to it. I was going to actually talk more about this maybe tomorrow, but here. Alligator Alcatraz winding down. That's because of a judge's ruling and an order to close it. So they've been in the process of moving the detainees out. I don't think there are many even left there now. It was only opened about 2 months ago. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent in Florida. There you go, right here. Here's the NBC feed on it tonight. Pretty fresh. In July, Florida Republicans launched the brutal alligator Alcatraz immigration detention center deep in the Florida Everglades with great fanfare. Yes, they did. It was something of a show, wasn't it? Soon the Trump administration was championing it as a model. It wanted to replicate across the country, but less than 2 months later, the camp is being dismantled and emptied of detainees. And that's because the Department of Homeland Security says it is moving detainees out of the facility in compliance with a district judge's order after ruling that it violated federal environmental law. The dissolution of the tauntingly named detention center is a blow to Republican efforts to supercharge the Trump administration's dehumanizing mass deportation program. And it's a sign of how the GOP hits walls when it prioritizes spectacle over practicality. Spectacle. Showtime. It seems that there was a great deal of fanfare and showbiz behind this, as we also saw with the government itself, actually. And I think the DeSantis administration in Florida was behind the commissioning and sale of a lot of alligator Alcatraz merch, T-shirts, coolers, all kinds of other baseball caps, you name it. Alligator Alcatraz. So it was something of a spectacle, but and depending on which side you listened to, you might think that the place was a very well-run, spick and span operation, or a place that was filthy dirty, flooded out, and pretty close to being something of a inhumane. Where does the truth lie? Somewhere in the middle, I suspect, but regardless, it is being shut down. I don't think there are many people there at all right now. And within days, it'll be shuttered. But as a result, I believe they spent over $200 million setting it up in just 8 days. And there are now some lawsuits as a result of that are going forward against the Trump administration. And we'll see how all those lawsuits play out. Man, talk about lawfare. It goes back and forth, doesn't it? Between the Dems and the Republicans and on the U.S. side. So much litigation. If they put all that effort into just running the country more efficiently, all that energy, put all those resources into serving the people instead of fighting back and forth, imagine what could be achieved. All the wasted time and resources. And this new politics of division that we're experiencing these days, it certainly wasn't like that back in the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, you know. Things have sure changed. Not to say there wasn't extreme division and intense debate, but, you know, you didn't see in those decades the constant challenging of election results and the heightened, escalating, caustic rhetoric that constantly pits political opponents against each other in ways that deemed them to be like the enemy, like the actual enemy itself. Not just like a political opponent that needs to be defeated in the next election. It's like just spitting venom all the time. Unbelievable. Let's go back to Chicago. We've got some speeches happening there.
Migrants escaping fascism. And I'm going to give you a third time where workers stood up. And that is when they allied themselves in the civil rights movement. It is when they said that work has as much dignity as the humanity of every black child and every black man and every black woman. That this is what workers do. We make it better. But we're in a time and a space now where workers have to practice a solidarity that goes beyond the billionaire class. They have to practice the solidarity that elects a mayor who can see the people. They have to practice the solidarity that anchors the common good. They have to practice the solidarity that rebukes the tyranny of troops from Trump in our city. That is our work. we got to draw a contrast, Chicago. We have to show the world that workers usher in a reconstruction of school libraries while Trump is banning books. We have to show them that workers are reopening mental health care clinics in Chicago instead of leaving people without. We have to show them that in Chicago, we've abolished the sub-minimum wage because slave wages went out with the 13th Amendment. In Chicago, we reject a billionaire's tyranny on our city. We reject a billionaire and his cabinet of billionaires who take from Medicaid, who defund public education. So let me be clear about what solidarity is. Solidarity is the antidote to white supremacy. Solidarity is the antidote to anti-immigrant fever. Solidarity is the antidote to homophobia and transphobia. Solidarity is the antidote to people not having and needing. It is solidarity that reunites us. It is solidarity that keeps us. It is solidarity that supports us. It is solidarity that makes these United States of America for the people and by the people. Let's go, Chicago.
Like any fight, we've got allies in the fight. Y'all know my friend Congressman Chuy Garcia. We've got Alderman Andre Vasquez, Alderwoman Lenny Mana-Heppenworth, Senator Lakeisha Collins, my union sister, Alderman Bill Conway, Senator Mike Simmons, Mayor Dan Biss, and more to come. I'd now like to bring up my friend, Director of Organizing for Painters District Council 14, and one badass, he's going to tell you about this building right here, Al Barraza.
What do we want? Justice. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
One more time. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
That's right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to CFL. Thank you for the labor movement. When I was asked to speak today, it was a no-brainer. Why? Because we're on sacred, hallowed ground here at the Haymarket Memorial in 1886. Back then, workers were dealing with the injustices that we're still dealing with today. And we don't have to look so far, but just to look to my left, and you'll see injustices happening every day there, where we have, unfortunately, workers there that are not represented by a union, that are being taken advantage of, still to this day. And for what? For injustices to make people rich, to exploit the needs of workers against the sacrifices of other workers, so that we pit each other against each other. That cannot happen. We have to unite and bring these workers into the fold, into our union, into the fight for solidarity. That's what we're going to do here today. So despite the despair that we see and feel maybe every day, it's a blessing to come out here and look at all these union brothers and sisters, workers that are organized and ready to fight back the tyranny. And that's what we're going to do today. So I hope, brothers and sisters, you are ready for a walk, because I sure as hell am. Thank you.
We got more allies in the House. Senator Willie Preston, Water Rec Commissioner Yumika Brown, Senator Laura Fine, Commissioner Tara Stamps, anybody know her? Clerk Anna Valencia, Clerk of the Circuit Court Mariana Spiropoulos, Senator Graciela Guzman, Rep. Liliana Jimenez fights for justice every day, Senator Robert Peters, Alderperson Jesse Fuentes, Alderperson Anthony Quezada, and Commissioner Jessica Vasquez. That's a lot of elected officials. A lot of these folks I've just read, they're organizers. They're people who go out on the street every day. They represent us in the halls of justice, the halls of law. Even when they don't work for us, even when those institutions aren't working for us, these people are. And one person that I know that works for everybody, all workers every day, is the national president of the American Federation of Teachers. She's going to give us some religion too. Randy Weingarten.
Okay, but I'm like really short here. Okay. I know it's a Sunday. No, it's a Monday, right? Monday. But let me ask you something. You just got a history lesson. You just got a labor lesson. Are we ready to fight Pharaoh? Stacy gave us a lesson about African American emancipation. We have been fighting pharaohs for thousands and thousands of years. And the one in the White House is just as bad as the rest of them have been. Are you ready, American labor? Are you ready, Chicago labor, to fight? And today as we walk, we're going to fight a whole bunch of pharaohs. Whether it's Tesla or Target or Valor. What has happened in this country is that the billionaires don't understand that this country was created in protest and in resistance to fight off a king, not to recreate a king. Sorry, I'm also a history teacher. But what we know is that those kings, those pharaohs, those authoritarians, it's
coming back. We're coming back. Here we go.
Labor does not concede willingly. It does not concede without demand. So Chicago labor, are we ready to demand? And demand we must, not simply for a choice of the cruelty of Trump or a broken status quo. We must demand a better life for all workers. One job should be enough. Public schools should be strengthened, not abandoned. Higher education should be affordable. Social Security should be saved. Medicare and Medicaid should be sacrosanct. Why are these demands not the demands of every single politician in Washington? This is what creates dignity. This is what creates opportunity. And this is what creates affordability. But my friends, and that's why all across the country today, 1,000 events. Labor is not simply doing picnics and parades. We are fighting for a better life for all Americans. That's what Labor Day should be about as we stand in hallowed ground. So, let me ask you, in a city that is about to get a military occupation, with an administration that disappears immigrants rather than reveres immigrants. Are you ready to fight for that multicultural, multi-ethnic democracy that Stacey was talking about? Are Are you ready to fight for dignity of the American worker? Are you ready to fight for dignity of all workers and all Americans? Are you ready to fight for good public schools and for people to have higher education and decent housing and decent health care and a decent retirement? Are you ready to stand up? You are standing. Are you ready to show up? Are you ready to speak up? Are you ready to fight each and every day? Because we know when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Solidarity.
So I said, more would come. I'd also like to acknowledge State Representative Stephanie Kiffowit and Alderman Lamont Robinson. But I told you that we had the son of a preacher here. I got a preacher too, but I also have the son of a preacher. First, I'm going to bring up the son of a preacher and the son of a union worker, Mayor of the City of Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
Let's go. Let me hear you, Chicago. Let me get you a little bit more noisy out there. Yes. No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago. And we got the baddest freaking labor movement in the city of Chicago birthed right here. We're going to take this fight across America, but we got to defend the home front first. And the best way we defend the home front is to make sure that every single worker has a livable wage. That's why we abolished the sub-minimum wage in Chicago for brown and black women. They get raises on top of their tips. This is the city of Chicago where we have given paid time off for over 1 million workers, 10 days off, the biggest city in America to ever do it. This is the labor movement, you all. On pace to build more affordable units, a teacher's contract that protects black women, a teacher's contract that protects the LGBTQIA community, the teacher contract that protects immigrants. This is the greatest freaking city in the world. We're Chi-Town. Now look, there are some people that have doubts in the labor movement. There are some people believe that we don't have the power to beat authoritarianism. But I'm also a history teacher as well. We have stood up for the interests of workers before, and we will do it again. And no matter what comes from the White House, Chicago will always be a labor town. Are you with me, Chicago? Now finally, we have seen this president shift the largest concentration of wealth into the hands of the few. Justice Brandeis made it very clear. He said we can either have a democracy or we can have wealth in the hands of the concentrated few. But he says we cannot have both. Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution, it's going to be the labor movement that stitches it back together. The labor movement that brings black folks, white folks, Asians. It brings brown folks together. This is the city that said keep hope alive. The city that birthed yes we can. And the city that will defend this country. God bless you all. God bless the labor movement. God bless the greatest freaking city in the world, Chi-Town. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. Invest in Chicago. Invest in Chicago. No troops in Chicago. Invest in Chicago. God bless you. Love you all.
When we fight, when we fight, when we fight. Listen, y'all, we're here to stand up for something, right? We're here to stand up for working people. And as we stare down into authoritarianism, we got to call it what it is. And in this fight, we have to see if people will be who they say they are. This is one of those moments where you have to live your values. Now, it's real easy to do that until you face somebody like Donald Trump, who's using every ounce of his power to bring the country to heel. But we know a brother who is holding people accountable. We know a brother who is working to make sure that when it comes to coming to heel to Donald Trump, that people stand up for themselves and make sure that the companies that take our money live the values that this country is really all about. And you know who's calling for Target Corporation to be accountable? Our next speaker, Pastor Jamal Bryant.
This is a critical moment. It's a critical moment in American history where history will have to record that the fight for democracy was birthed in Chicago. Those of you who still believe in liberty and justice for all, would you make some noise right now if you still believe in it? In order to make America great, you cannot make America great without unions. It is because of unions that there are no children who are working underage. It is because of unions that you are able to have health benefits. It is because of unions that you have vacation time. It is because of unions that you're able to take sick leave. It is because of unions that you are able to have vacation. This is an American salute to all of you who work in labor. Would you cheer for the people who work around you? There are more labor workers than there are billionaires. You just missed what I said. There are more labor workers than there are billionaires. It is because of your sweat equity. It is because of your stick-to-itiveness. It's because of your focus that America is still standing. You are the true patriots. Celebrate yourselves on Labor Day. Celebrate yourselves. I want to thank Randy and Stacy for standing with us. I so believe in what it is that you are doing that I flew from Atlanta, Georgia, just to be with the labor workers of Chicago, Illinois, because this is not a local fight. It is a national fight. We owe a debt of gratitude for the most fearless leader in America today is the mayor of Chicago. Let's celebrate him.
This is my hack for working smart. Money.com.
Okay.
Let me show you how I use money.
We're going to yank out of that. And we may go back to it. Yeah, big crowd stopping at the Target. And he's targeting Target in his speech. Stay with me. We'll come back on the other side with more of today's top stories.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So you may not have been aware that there's this big summit that has taken place in China, the SCO summit. And this involves, well, it's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is what it is. And this involves Russia, China, India, Turkey, how many other nations? Those are the big players. They sent their leaders there, of course, including Putin, Xi, Modi, and today we saw that Putin blamed the West for the war in Ukraine while speaking there. He accused NATO of destabilizing the region and dismissed claims that Russia triggered the war. Although I don't know how you don't trigger the we can debate it all night. I'm sure that at this point you're aware of the arguments on both sides. He says this crisis was not triggered by Russia's attack on Ukraine, but was a result of a coup in Ukraine, which was supported by and provoked by the West. He told the gathering. He was referring, of course, to the 2013-2014 European uprising, the protests there in Ukraine that ended up with the ousting of, well, he actually fled the country, Viktor Yanukovych, who was then president. In any event, the anti-Western rhetoric continued. And here, I'm going to bring up the RT website and show you the headlines there. Certainly for this story. It says there, the West and its century. The future belongs to these leaders now. What Western media dismissed as a club of autocrats has grown into the global South's blueprint for a post-Western world. I keep telling you, very few are listening, that you're looking right there at the New World Order. They even use the phrase New World Order and sometimes similar phrases. In fact, I believe, let me see if I can find it for you here. Yeah, here we go. Here's a Reuters report on this summit out of China using a very close phrase to New World Order. Look at the headline. Still don't believe me? China's Xi pushes a new global order flanked by leaders of Russia and India at this summit today.
Putin, who's king, and Russian President. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin set out their vision for a new global security and economic order in a direct challenge to the United States at a regional summit on Monday. At the two-day summit in the Chinese port city of Tianjin for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Xi said the more than 20 leaders of non-Western countries must continue to take a clear stand against hegemonism and power politics and practice true multilateralism. Despite no concrete policies being set out, Xi's comments are a veiled attack on the current US-dominated world order. Putin, whose country has forged close ties with China amid the fallout from the Ukraine war, said the SCO had revived genuine multilateralism, with national currencies increasingly used in mutual settlements rather than the US dollar. Earlier, Xi pushed for more inclusive economic globalization amid the upheaval caused by US President Donald Trump's tariff policies. Trump's tariff war has disproportionately affected developing economies such as India, whose exports were hit with a 50% levy last week.
And that tactic by Trump targeting India, very counterproductive. That is a country where he has largely been very popular until now. And with the 50% tariff levy that he has imposed on India, things have shifted dramatically there politically. And Modi over there at this summit showing that India now is being pushed away from America, more into the wide open arms of Russia and China because of Donald Trump's economic policies, in very much the same way that Canada is being pushed toward the EU.
Putin and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held hands as they met before the summit and appeared jovial together as they spoke with Xi, surrounded by translators. At a bilateral meeting, Putin addressed Modi as his dear friend and said relations were developing dynamically, while Modi told Putin he hopes Russia and Ukraine will move forward to end their war soon.
Mr. President, this demonstrates just how profound and comprehensive our specially privileged strategic partnership truly is. Even under the most challenging circumstances, India and Russia have always moved forward shoulder to shoulder. Our close cooperation matters not only for the peoples of our two nations, but also for ensuring global peace, stability and prosperity.
China and India are the biggest buyers of crude oil from Russia, the world's second largest exporter.
And that is what is financing the Russian war machine as the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine rages on with honestly no end in sight. Despite the big show that was put on in Alaska and then subsequently in the Oval Office with the European leaders accompanying Zelensky to a meeting with Trump where they all sat in front of his desk, as you saw, and talked about security guarantees and la, 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 la. And what has it resulted in? Nothing. Yeah, very, very little, nothing. Let's go back to Chicago. Labor Day protests continuing. And we're highlighting Chicago because that's the feed coming out of there, but also because it is, I guess, next in the crosshairs for Trump as he looks to expand the use of troops to combat crime in the way that he is in D.C. A lot of pushback politically coming from that Democrat-run city. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about that. And just back to the whole thing at this summit in China, you know, as I say, I've been telling people for quite a while that is, you're looking right there. That is the New World Order as they seek to upset the rules-based international order that has been really run essentially by, well, I should say led by the United States since World War II, upset the current world financial system, which is obviously dominated by the United States with its world reserve currency. and its dominance economically around the world, which Trump is now leveraging as a weapon. He's weaponizing the economy to such an extent that it is destabilizing, honestly, the entire world. It's creating power vacuums, power imbalances. He's, when he first, in his first administration, when he used the economy to influence conflicts around the world on a few occasions, I said, that's a really smart thing to do. But he was doing it on a much more limited scale and in a very targeted way. But now he's unleashed this economic warfare globally against all of the US trading partners. It's alienating the United States. It's isolating the United States. It's creating economic instability around the world. And it's pushing all these countries away from the US and into each other's arms, so that it's strengthening the BRICS nations. It's strengthening this organization where they're meeting to again discuss the reorganization of the world. And believe me when I say that Trump is part of it. As much as it may seem like he's doing crazy things, or maybe things that are America first, it's America first, I think, in his own mind. And I think from his perspective, everything he's doing is America first. But it's in alignment with what these guys are actually doing. He's part of it. It's, I keep talking about it. The New World Order, they even use that phrase. They've used it on signage and on websites, even at the last St. Petersburg Economic Summit, which is that side of the world's equivalent of the World Economic Forum. And they're using the actual phrase New World Order or New Global Order. They keep using it over and over again. It's because they are looking at carving up the world into spheres of political influence. And some, especially people on the right side of the political spectrum in the United States that are MAGA aligned, they're in tune with a lot of this stuff. And the fight is being brought to you, to our society, to our countries, Canada, the US, all the Western societies, with on a platter of cultural division, social unrest, even racism, and those issues. Those are the issues fueling the whole thing up. And traditional values. Strangely, that's a phrase, honestly, that even Adolf used in leading up to World War II and during World War II. And it's being bandied about again, traditional values. It was one of those issues that really fueled the rise of the Nazi Party to power prior to World War II. And I think we need to be aware of it, careful of it. It's not the only issue, but that was certainly a driving force. As I remember my history lessons about World War II, it was that cultural breakdown that was cited by, at that time, that party in Germany as one of the hot button issues that they used to generate support. Degradation of family values, decadence. These are issues that are again being used, recycled issues in very much the same way in order to fuel this new political movement, which is a hybrid that I think people are having a very difficult time defining here in North America, certainly in the US and in Canada. And I've noticed even and this is just me editorializing a little bit, or maybe just offering observational analysis, I've noticed a shift even within the past week in the rhetoric, and it's coordinated. It's a campaign. I am certain of it, because everybody is in lockstep. A lot of the social media influencers out there who are bringing this narrative to the forefront again in order to generate a push. And we're getting a push into the racial conflict side now. You're going to see it amped up in the weeks ahead, heading into the middle of September in particular. Over the next 2 weeks, you look for it. You're going to see a lot of, you mark my words, and you can Well, I'm certain of it. We're going to see a lot more rhetoric in the sphere of racial politics over the next couple of weeks. It's going to get people really upset. We're seeing it already. And of course, class warfare, front and center as one of the main issues today at the Labor Day protests. And Putin himself today acknowledging again the desire for a new world order, saying that the world needs a new system and the West can't stop it at this point. He says he said today that it is the SEO, or Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that could take up the leading role in efforts aimed at shaping a more just global governance system based on the prevalence of international law in key terms of the UN Charter. He says that would be balanced and take into account. The SEO is actively promoting trade, economic, and investment cooperation. The total GDP of the SEO member states in 2024 grew by an average of more than 5%. I have a clip of Putin's speech to share with you here as he addresses that, which he says is an inevitable shift away from the rules-based international order to this new global or new world order that I keep telling everybody about, but not in the way that a lot of people are thinking about it.
Uniting heads of states, member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, leaders of observant states, partners in the SEO dialogue, guests, and heads of leading international organizations. This visit states his country was given the partner status. Applications from a dozen participating in efforts to form an atmosphere of peace and security on the Eurasian continent, as well as atmosphere of trust and cooperation. In this connection, of course, we carefully listened to all propositions suggested by Chairman Xi Jinping to create a more efficient global governance system. This is very relevant in a situation when some countries still refuse to give up their aspirations to dictatorship and international affairs. Russia supports Xi Jinping's initiative and is interested in beginning specific discussions of propositions set forth by China. I think it is the SEO that could take up the leading role in efforts aimed at shaping a more just global governance system based on the prevalence of international law and key terms of the UN Charter that would be balanced and take into account the interest of as many countries as possible, guaranteeing them opportunities for stable development and security. The SEO is actively promoting trade, economic and investment cooperation amid persistent difficulties in the world economy. The total GDP of the SEO member states in 2024 grew by an average of more than 5%, which is above global figures, and industrial production grew by 4.6%, and our interaction in the sphere of energy, finance, agriculture, and food security is growing, as well as infrastructure, high technology, innovation, and transport. Just as important is the fact that the SEO member states have traditionally respected the historical and cultural values, as well as historical diversity. This is the foundation that helps deepen contacts among people, build cooperation in science, healthcare, education.
Okay. Going to take a quick break. Be right back. Stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
And we're back. Take a look at the Truth Social account of Trump now. Do a little Truth Social scroll. If you want to know what's going on in the world, you get about half the news every day just on Donald Trump's social media feed because he still dominates the news cycle every single day. I have to say, I've never seen any newsmaker dominate headlines the way Trump does, can, and probably always will as long as he's alive and kicking and active politically. There it is. There's his feed, and a few things to take note of tonight. Right off the top, not to mention, well, there's this Woody Allen says he wants to direct Donald Trump in another movie after 1998's Celebrity. He says he's a pleasure to work with and a very good actor. But this is another story that I took note of. Rudy Giuliani was involved in a car crash. Let me see if I have the details on that one. Here it is here. Yeah, in New Hampshire. And he's recovering from a fractured vertebra and other injuries following this car crash in New Hampshire. That from a spokesperson for the former mayor of New York City. Some people still call him America's mayor. His vehicle was struck from behind. He was traveling on a highway overnight. He sustained injuries, but is in good spirits and recovering tremendously, according to this spokesperson for Giuliani. He says this was not a targeted attack, which some people immediately began to speculate on or theorize about. Giuliani's 81 years old, taken to a trauma center overnight, treated for injuries. It's a fractured thoracic vertebrae, multiple lacerations, contusions, injuries to his left arm and lower leg. He was, prior to the accident, flagged down by a woman who was the victim of a domestic violence incident, apparently, and police were contacted for assistance. That's what Giuliani did. He called the cops on behalf of the lady, and then he was on his way, and then was hit a short time after that while pulling onto the highway. And I guess the two incidents, according to investigators and the spokesperson for Giuliani, are completely unrelated. So we'll all hope that he recovers from all those injuries. An injury to your vertebrae, that's very serious. So back to the Truth Social feed here. He says, as Trump saying today that as a president of the United States, I am pleased to announce that Rudy Giuliani, the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and an equally great American patriot, will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our country's highest civilian honor. Details as to time and place to follow. Thank you again for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, all caps, triple exclamation points. And while people are out in the streets protesting Trump at Labor Day marches all over America, he's celebrating 250 years of the American worker, saying Happy Labor Day. And some unions did support Trump in his last and previous election campaigns, but less so today. His approval ratings not completely in the tank at this point, but they have slipped in the last couple of months. And then I mentioned earlier the 50% tariff levies against India. And here tonight, he's posting about India saying, what few people understand is that we do very little business with India, but they do a tremendous amount of business with us. In other words, they sell us massive amounts of goods, their biggest client, but we sell them very little. Until now, a totally one-sided relationship, and it has been, and it has been for many decades. The reason is that India has charged us until now such high tariffs that the most of any country that our businesses are unable to sell into India. It has been a totally one-sided disaster. Also, India buys most of its oil and military products from Russia, very little from the U.S. They have now offered to cut their tariffs to nothing, but it's getting late. They should have done so years ago. Just some simple facts for people to ponder. I thought Canada was the nastiest. Scrolling down again, there's the India Post. And then there's this one about the drug companies. Very important that the drug companies, this is an important post actually, because he's calling on the pharmaceutical companies to release data on the COVID vaccines. He says it is very important that drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree, exclamation point. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer, and I want it now. I have been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and CDC, trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug companies' COVID work. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to CDC and the public and clear up this mess one way or the other. I hope Operation Warp Speed was brilliant, as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter, President DJT. Well, what was Operation Warp Speed? They threw money at developing the vaccine. He got rid of most, if not all, of the safety protocols, the guardrails, the requirements for testing that stood in the way of the release of the vaccines. That's what Trump did. That was Operation Warp Speed. Just get rid of all the safety protocols. Just get it to market. Just develop something as quickly as you can. Normally, something that would take years and years to develop to ensure safety was done in a matter of months. And now he's saying, well, show me the results, show me the stats, show me the figures, show me the studies. A lot of that stuff has been released, if not the majority of it. Now he's saying, oh, no, it's not true. They haven't released all the information. So what's the real story? And he wants the answers. Now, shouldn't he have had the answers before he approved or allowed them to approve the release of those vaccines to the public? That's the question that I would have. Shouldn't you make sure something is actually safe before you start injecting it into every man, woman, and child in your country and around the world? Or almost billions of people. That's my thinking. But and it is an issue that continues to rip the country apart, not just the U.S., but a lot of countries, especially Canada. And who is responsible? He makes it sound like the drug companies are responsible, but they've been given an exemption from accountability. He's the one who was behind Operation Warp Speed. So if this whole thing has gone haywire, if indeed the people who say that the negative repercussions from the rollout, the use, the mandates from the jabberoonie into people's arms, if the outcome has actually been very negative in a really horrific way, who would actually be responsible? I know who I'm looking at right now. And it's strangely, so many people just seem to let him off the hook. Like, it's not his fault. He was fooled, or he's not, is he responsible? Oh, he's the president. He has the power. He had the power then. He has the power now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if even releasing the information at this point does any good, because it doesn't seem to matter right now. If you put facts, studies, science right in front of people, some people just choose not to believe it. People just believe whatever they want to believe these days. It's in that respect a very dangerous time. We'll be coming back to that one. I know it. Firings at the CDC, the Federal Reserve, all these things are becoming politicized. Oh, and here's an interesting story, too, that I meant to touch on the other day. It's still making headlines. It's sort of, a sidebar on the U.S. side to that story out of Lindsay, Ontario, where the guy broke into the home armed with a crossbow, and then the homeowner, from documents released so far, we don't have all the information. The homeowner, armed with a knife, was also charged. They don't tell you that the guy with the crossbow was charged. I believe he was as well. So they both end up being charged. The person with the knife, the homeowner, charged as well. But we don't have all the information, or even very much information, about how events transpired there. And so, of course, politicians like even Doug Ford, Pierre Poilievre, latching onto that, and Maxime Bernier, PPC, others, social media streamers, a lot of them latching onto that issue, scoring points with it, getting a lot of clicks, using it for political hay. But I know that police, lawyers up there in Lindsay, some of them have cautioned, better wait until you get all the facts. And I know why. It's because if you don't have all the information, there can be extenuating circumstances. It's like, was excessive force used? What, the guy may have been armed with a crossbow, but how do you know what happened? Did the guy actually take the crossbow into the house? If he was in the house with the crossbow, did he set the crossbow down? Did the homeowner take the crossbow away from the guy and then stab him? We don't know. You see, it depends on how much force was used and in what context, like how, why. Was the guy laying on the ground, crying like a baby, unarmed at the time, and then was stabbed? Like, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying we just don't know. And so there are limits on what you can do, even when defending your own home from an armed intruder. If you disarm the intruder, just like a police officer, if you disarm someone and then shoot them in the head, then you're probably going to go to jail for murder. So you better get all your facts straight before you start jumping to conclusions. Not to say that homeowners shouldn't be allowed to defend their homes. And in fact, under Canadian law, if you really look at it, you are allowed to defend your home against an intruder. You are allowed to defend yourself. But, and I'm not sure that the law is really written in an appropriate way, and maybe it needs to be changed to improve people's rights to defend themselves and their personal property. But the reality is there are provisions in there that allow you to defend your home. It's just that you have to do it in a proper way. You can't just, right? Just like a cop, you can't use excessive force. Otherwise, charges can be laid against you as a police officer. That being said, there's this other story that I'm just getting to here about this kid. This is a tragic story. Let me see if I can find it here again. Kind of lost my spot. So this kid was playing essentially this version of Nicky Nicky Nine Doors, what we used to call it. They call it a ding dong ditch, same sort of thing. You ring the doorbell, run away, right? So this is in the States. And again, this is, why these are complex issues. So an 11-year-old boy in Houston, fatally shot, killed. 11-year-old boy fatally shot in Houston after a prank in which he rang the doorbell of a home and ran away, police said Sunday. The boy had been ringing doorbells as a prank Saturday evening. Houston Police Department said in a statement commonly referred to as ding-dong ditching. Yeah, you ring the doorbell, run away. So the boy, not identified yet, died. He was shot. Nobody arrested at this point. Says here, other ding-dong ditch pranks have turned deadly in the past. In 2023, a Southern California man was convicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder for killing 3 teenage boys by intentionally ramming their car after they rang his doorbell as a prank. And in May, a Virginia man was charged with second-degree murder for fatally shooting an 18-year-old who had rung his doorbell while filming a TikTok video of the prank. That reported in the New York Times. So, how far is someone allowed to go to defend their property? And look at what's just happened here. Ding-dong ditching, and these incidents have happened. Now an 11-year-old boy dead. And again, don't have all the information on that either. So who knows what really happened? And that's maybe why we haven't seen charges laid. So maybe it was an accident of some kind. Don't know. Got to wait until you get all the facts. All I know is that's tragic. Something's wrong. Man. Well, all that being said, I was hoping we could leave you tonight with something a little bit inspirational, maybe a little more on the positive side. A negative story turned positive, and I've got it for you here. Did you hear about Bam Bam the dog? Bam Bam. So what happened is this gentleman, he's elderly, Chicago man, and Angel Santiago he's blind because he had diabetes and health complications, lost his sight, and he had this service dog, a 14-year-old Dachshund, and it was stolen from him. And after the dog was stolen, heartbreaking story, he was walking for weeks, like 7 miles a day, just hoping that he would hear his dog bark. And finally, people joined him in the search. And we've got a positive outcome from this story. So after, I believe, what was it? It was a weeks-long search, over 2 weeks, as I recall. And now the dog is home, found, turned into police, dropped off, and they've been reunited. Actually, it was more than 2 weeks. It was 2 months. I'm sorry. So they were separated for 2 months. And yes, he was walking up to 7 miles a day searching for his dog. He was handing out flyers, and now the dog has been found. It looks like it's healthy. It's been home for a little while now, and all is much better. Let's pick this up.
Santiago says in the early morning hours, 2 males entered his backyard near Monticello and Fullerton, right in Logan Square on June 5th. Bam Bam was outside after making a potty run. Santiago is legally blind due to glaucoma and struggling with type 2 diabetes. He heard the commotion and tried to stop them. He held on as tight as he could to one person. He says they sounded like a teenager, but he couldn't hold on for long. He heard Bam Bam barking in distress, and the bark began to fade away. Since then, Santiago walks 7 miles a day searching for the dog and handing out flyers. Volunteers have also helped to pass them out. So far, Santiago has only received fake tips and scam calls.
Bam Bam means the world to me, and I feel my body draining away. I can only do so much. I promise that I will keep walking and walking and walking, yelling his name out. But if you can just help me and with your own eyes and see if you can spot him for me, let your eyes be mine and look out for Bam Bam for me, please. I beg of you to help me.
And it paid off because people in his neighborhood began working together. They banded together. They helped with the search. And now the dog was, I guess, dropped off anonymously at a police station and has been reunited, and they're back together. It says right here, the Bam Bam is home safe. The entire city has been searching for this dog. An amazing story of community. Let's bring up this. I think I had another report here that also highlights the reunification. Here we go. This is Fox 32 out of Chicago. And
People all across the world are breathing a sigh of relief. After being stolen from his home 72 days ago, Bam Bam, the emotional support dog, was reunited with his owner.
Yeah, the dog was stolen from that owner in Logan Square. Tia is back with the heartwarming reunion. I can only imagine the smile on Angel Santiago's face today.
Absolutely, everyone's face,
Yeah.
not even just Angel's. I mean, a lot of people were touched by this story, as you know, from all across the country after they saw it. For 2 months and 14 days, Angel Santiago lived in silence without the familiar bark of his beloved emotional support dog, Bam Bam. Every single day he searched, and every single day he would call out Bam Bam's name. Blind for the past 3 years, Angel says his Bam Bam brought him comfort during the hardest times. Now, this is the moment Bam Bam was reunited with his owner, Angel Santiago, outside of the 16th District Police Station in the 5100 block of North Milwaukee Tuesday night. An unidentified man and woman walked inside and refused to give officers any information. Bam Bam, a 14-year-old Dachshund mix, was stolen on June 5th from their backyard near North Monticello and West Fullerton in Logan Square. Santiago says he confronted one of the suspects, but because he's blind, caused by glaucoma, he had to let go. Today, Bam Bam was taken to the Niles Animal Hospital to be checked out.
We're just going to do our exam of Bam Bam in here with you guys, and then I would like to run some blood work on him and potentially get some x-rays just to make sure everything looks good, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it turns out Bam Bam has a clean bill of health overall. His nails were painfully long and had to be trimmed. Bam Bam does have some cardiac enlargement that will be examined further, but it could be a condition prone to his breed. Bam Bam's story garnered the attention of people all across the country. PETA chipped in with a $5,000 reward to bring Bam Bam home, and now they will celebrate the reunification by putting up billboards all across Chicago. Also, the GoFundMe started by a viewer has raised close to $20,000.
I want to visit other people with the same disability that I have, my blindness, and maybe some of the donations that I received, maybe we can help them out. Maybe a navigation stick like this, or maybe a dog to help them. I believe someone had him, but I guess they just didn't know how to properly take care of an animal like this, to let his nails grow out like that.
Now, the good news here, Bam Bam is microchipped, and that made it easy for Chicago police to track down Angel. There is no one in custody right now, but Area 5 detectives are investigating. And finally, on our newscast, we have a positive story to report in this situation.
Watch. There you go. And you just know what I'm going to leave you with to close off tonight's broadcast. See you guys back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Well, I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free. his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold, the sky's turning gray. But Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmos Run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a word. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.